Okay.
All right, everyone. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. This is Ann Dillard with Teen Talk Live coming to you with this special edition. Tonight, we are talking about a very hot topic. And unfortunately, we're having this conversation again. And again, welcome to Teen Talk Live, where we transform the minds and lives of teens and those who love them. Thank you for joining us. And we're going to spend the next half hour talking to the Armstrong family about the incident that occurred or incidents that have occurred with their teen son, Trey. And we're talking about, you know what, is this really about the achievement gap, or is this about blatant racism? And that's what we're gonna have this courageous conversation about this evening. So if you're joining us, thank you, Broderick, for being here. Thank you, Janae. I'm glad you're here. Janae, actually, I'd love for you to chime in because I know you work with teenagers. So if you're with us or you're on the replay, I would love for you to share this information, share this this live out. So welcome, Armstrong family. I'm glad you're here tonight with me.
Thanks for having us.
Awesome. Would you all just take a minute, introduce yourselves?
Yes, sure. I'm Geneva Armstrong, and I'm Trey's mom, and we're here in Ferris, Texas, which is like a suburb of Dallas, Texas.
This is my dad.
Who are you?
I'm Trey.
Okay, Trey, how old are you and what grade are you in?
I'm 15 and I'm in the 10th grade.
All right, welcome. Okay, now you can introduce the person next to you.
There you go.
What's his name?
This is my dad, and his name's Errol. And yeah, that's it.
Awesome. So Geneva and Errol, I thank you so much for agreeing to do this talk with me. And I first learned about your story when I saw it on the Black Therapist Rock with Duran Young, and I thought I was captivated by your story, and more so captivated by Trey's courage to speak up about what, you know, the incidents that was happening with him in school, in his high school. So can you give our audience just a recap on what those incidents are?
Yes. So some of the incidents were another student calling him the N-word. Another student was called him the N-word, and some of the teachers were making, you know, like racial jokes, offensive racial jokes. Him just being labeled as well as a gang member, a thug, a thief, and you know, by the staff at the school, basically, like, you know, just bullying, but racism as well, like, you know, going through those things. And you know, just every time we would try to, when we recorded like we're supposed to, nothing would, you know, basically happen, nothing would get taken care of. We were basically told that he was just kind of making it up type of thing, and these things, you know, it's just to fit his, you know, narrative, basically.
Wow.
In a nutshell, that's pretty much.
But the people that I would be like speaking up about, they'll like admit that they did that stuff, and then like they'll like, but that's before. Like, look, they'll tell me I'm making a narrative up. Then when they go ask the person that actually did it, they'll be like, they'll admit to it. So then from there, nothing got done about it.
Mm-hmm. So Trey, when they admit to, you know, saying those things and doing those things, what kind of consequences have they had?
None at all. Like only one teacher was spoken to, but then after that, he wants to ask me, well, I don't get why you were offended, and like that just show you like there wasn't no real enforcement on him how it should have been.
Right.
I mean, I don't want nobody losing a job or anything, because people gotta make money out here. But like, it's just that like I just feel like some like could have went on, like he could have been more apologetic about it, because he wouldn't want me calling him no other race, like no racial slur. So yeah.
Right, right. And unfortunately, it didn't seem like anything significant happened because, you know, he was right back. There was no consequences.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mhm. So,
right.
yeah, so tell me, how did you find the courage to even speak up about this, to say, you know what, the way I'm being treated, the things that are being said to me are not acceptable? Where'd you get that courage from?
Well, I got the courage. I get that courage because, well, my mom, when I told her, she was like, she really didn't even want me going there in the first place. I just went there because I thought it would be something, but then it turned out it wasn't what I thought it would be, like more diverse, you know, but it wasn't like that. But then where I got the courage from was when my mom said something, then I'm feeling like, okay, like, yeah, this is real. So, like, this is real life. Like, you gotta, like, speak up for yourself.
Mhm.
So,
So the
keep
fact
doing.
that your parents believed you and kind of said, you know, or even taught you how you need to be treated, really made a impact on you.
Yes.
Okay, okay. So, Errol, tell me about these different incidents that, as a Black man, and your son comes home um, and reports these things. What are some of the things that go through your mind?
Well, initially, because it's not something that you wake up and expect to happen every day, I gotta honestly say I was surprised, because I don't wake up expecting it to happen. But uh, when your child questions you, like, what am I doing something wrong? Like, what's wrong? Is there something wrong with me? You know, it gets real. You know, that moment, I was like, wow, he's really feeling the indifference that people are labeling him, basically ostracizing him, and he's just want to be accepted, in that environment. But from being labeled, you know, from being stood up in class, when a young girl's headphones was missing, and him being the only kid that was searched thoroughly.
Because I'm black. I was the only
Well,
black kid.
I'm not. I'm just trying. I'm speaking. So having him to stand up alone, in front of the classroom and have to empty out his backpack, you know, the other kids didn't have to do that.
Mhm.
You can start feeling a difference.
Right.
You know something's not right, because 5 minutes later she said, okay, everybody else open up your bags. She didn't do a thorough search. Even more so, which made it inappropriate. It was actually against the code of the school. Administration or an authorized officer, is the only person that's allowed in a high school setting to search kids, period.
Okay.
So,
So Errol, help me understand. So from what you're saying, young girls, one of his classmates' headphones was missing, right? Um,
uh
so paint us a picture of the demographics of that class. So he's sitting in this class.
well,
Who else is in this class with him?
Look, like, I'm the only, all right, so everybody in there is either white or Spanish. In that class, it's like a majority of Spanish kids, and I'm the only black kid in that class. So I just got done doing a lab in chemistry class. We just got done doing a lab, and we come back, and the girl, she tells Miss Wood that my earphones are missing. So then after that, she was like, all right, who took her earphones? And then she asked me, did I have them? I said no. And then they were like, I know you steal and all that. And they trying to say that I stole from people before. And I'm like, I ain't never stole nothing in my life. So then she tells me to empty out my pockets, take everything out my backpack. And I do that. And they don't find nothing on me because I didn't have the earphone. So then 5 minutes, like 5 minutes later, like my dad said, she goes and checks everybody, but she checks them like less than how she checked me. Like she checked them, like she just literally like told them just open your bag. She didn't tell them take everything out your bag and stuff like that. And then what happened after that? The next day, the boy that stole them actually returned the earphone.
Wow. And so Miss Woods gave you an apology in front of the whole class, right?
No.
Wow. How did that feel in that moment to go through that accusation and that search, and you look around the room and nobody else in the room looks like you?
I'm gonna get on the part where nobody in the room looks like me. Like I don't feel I feel some type of way about it when that situation came up. Cause then I start thinking, I'm like, okay, like they don't even know me. So, and how can they say I steal from people?
Right.
Like, think about it like this: we could all be the same color, we could all be black, but they wouldn't say that. But I'm the only black one in there, and they're gonna accuse me because I'm the different one.
You said they don't know you. Am I understanding that you were pretty new to the school?
Yes, I was literally like about around like 3 weeks into the school. I was new, but I don't really like nobody at the school like that. Like I only talked to a few people up there.
Right.
Like, but they were going through what I was going through. So that's kind of how that's kind of how we like start getting like bonding and stuff.
Mm-hmm. And you were bonding with the other kids who were facing some of the same accusations you were facing.
Yes.
Okay. So that's interesting. So Earl, an important point that you made was that this was illegal. So what happened to this teacher who illegally searched your son?
Nothing's happened.
Wow. Wow. That's
the complaint was made, but nothing's happened.
right. Wow. Let me take a minute just to welcome our guests who are joining us. Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining. Joseph, thanks for being here. Elmore, thank you for being here. Erica and Molly and Sister Sandy, thank you for being here. Susan, I'm glad you're here. I'm so glad for everybody who's joining us. If you have any comments or questions for the Armstrong family, we're talking about just blatant racism that their son Trey experienced in their Texas school. Just drop it in the comment line and share this video out and join us in this very interesting conversation that we're having. Okay, so Trey, now how do you go back? How do you feel when you go back to that class?
Well, I don't go to that school, but I like it. Like my favorite part of the day at that school would be like lunch, because that's when I could talk to the people that were like accepting me. I could go find them and talk to them.
Right. So it seemed like there was, from the beginning, you were just stereotyped as this gang kid this kid who steals, and all those negative labels were put on you.
Right. And part of that is kind of because the school I came from an all black school, well, majority black school. You may see a few white people. It's like black and Spanish.
Uh-huh.
And like they were like people would even tell me that, oh, this is Cedar Hill. This is not Cedar Hill. Cause that's the school I came from. I came from Cedar Hill High School. And they would be like, this is not Cedar Hill High School. So you're gonna learn.
Okay. So they had an agenda for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Basically.
Wow. Mm-hmm. So that's blatant. And Susan said, what are the demographics of the schools in that area? So what's the demographic of the school? You said Cedar Hill, where you came from, was predominantly Black and Hispanic?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And the new school that you had gone to, where you were having all these experiences, that was predominantly what?
White and it was white and a few Spanish kids. It was like more Spanish kids than Black kids, but it was mostly white.
Uh-huh. Okay. And so you said your favorite time of the day was when you got to collaborate and join and befriend some of the other Black kids during lunch.
Yeah, and there wasn't even there's only 30 Black kids in that school.
How big is the school?
Not big at all.
It's probably, I think, a total of
800 kids.
800 kids in high school.
Wow. Okay. So once the word get around that Trey is a thief and he's this and he's that spreads pretty fast.
Exactly. He even was saying that, when he had to stay after school for maybe sports or something,
and my phone would be dead.
His phone would be dead. That other kids would be like, "No, you can't use my phone."
There are a lot of me and be like, "Oh, my phone's dead," and then they'll walk off and go use their phone and make a phone call or something.
Mm-hmm. And then a staff member informed him that the reason why that's happening is because that very teacher has spread the rumor that you're a thief and that you're a criminal, basically.
Wow.
And I don't even have a record. I ain't never been in jail before.
Well, good, Trey. We don't expect you to be. That's not the expectation. No, sir. So, Geneva, tell me about going through this as a mom. Because I got to see some of your expressions, and I can't say that. Right. I can't say I would be any calmer. But tell me about going through this as a mom.
As a mom, it's just when it's. I already have reservations about him going to the school, and I just prepped him up. Like, okay, we're in this area, and what you're seeing right now is our neighborhood is diverse because we live in a new community, and so there's more Black people moving out this way. But the school is not so diverse. So, you just have this kind of anxiety of like, Lord, please let them just treat my kid right. Please let what I'm feeling be wrong. I want to be proven wrong. But when he started reporting these things and coming to us like, I think, this is not right. It's kind of like, it's not so much like surprising on my behalf because I felt it. Like when I sat and was registering him, I'm looking in the hallways and I'm watching the kids exchange classes. I'm like, so there's not a lot of Black kids here. And I'm seeing a lot of, Caucasian teachers. I'm really concerned because this area is not known for a lot of diversity. Mm-hmm. And so when he's reporting it as a mom, it's heartbreaking because now I have to go up here and fight on your behalf on things that I shouldn't have to be fighting for. because of racial slurs or the jokes, made by students and staff, I shouldn't have to be fighting for that. And I don't want to look like the crazy Black mom, the angry Black woman coming up here because you guys are tearing out my kid. And I'm working hard. His dad is working hard to build him up to be this strong, courageous Black man, and to know who he is and to stand in that at all times. But he's going to school for majority of the day and to a place where he's being torn down. It's very heartbreaking, and it's very hurtful, as a mom. And then on top of, you're putting labels on him, very stereotypical labels on him that doesn't fit him at all, calling him a hood kid and, all of these things, where I'm like, we worked very hard to raise him in the suburbs so he wouldn't have to go through some of the things we went through as kids and how we were raised and, environments that we were raised in. We worked very hard to keep our kids out of those environments. So it's very, very heartbreaking, a lot of tears being shed, because when you're going up against an organization such as a school system and they're not doing anything about what you're reporting, is very challenging. For us, it's very, very challenging as a mom, because this is your baby and you just want to protect them because that's your job. Right. And when you feel like you can't protect them, it's hard. It's heartbreaking.
Right. And like you said, you don't want it to be true. You don't want your intuition to be true.
Exactly.
But
exactly.
But it turns out to be, and that's so heartbreaking to me, that a teacher would, stereotype him. It's not surprising. I've been in the school systems for over 20 years. I've seen things like this happen. I've heard the conversations. So it's not necessarily surprising to me. And that's not to say that all teachers are like that. I'm not saying that. But it's not very surprising. What's surprising to me is that it would be allowed without any kind of repercussion or consequences, that a teacher could share these devastating labels about a child, right? And these assumptions about a child, and then that child has to go back and show up in her classroom.
Exactly.
And that's hard.
And not only it is hard, and just, it's already hard enough. I can't imagine being 15, because I tell him I grew up in Wichita Falls, Texas. Went to school here, came to Dallas when I was in high school, and my teachers were white for the most part. I don't remember having any Black teachers, and I never was called a racial slur that I can even remember. I can't remember being discriminated against because of blatantly because of my skin color, because of who I am, or what my background, my ethnic background. I can't remember that. And so I'm just trying to imagine how it feels to look at someone in the face that you have to respect because they're adults. And, kids too, you have to respect them, but it's almost like, okay, I can understand kids are going to be kids. They do a lot of things that their parents do. I get that. But when it becomes an adult being your bully, and you have to sit in that classroom and give and be yes, ma'am, no, sir, no, ma'am, and yes, sir, to them, that's very hard, especially as a teenager. I can't imagine sitting there having to give all this respect just to be, basically, you might as well spit in my face.
Mm-hmm. Well, the amazing thing about how you you just put that together so well. You, in essence, you summed up a microcosm of the bigger system that we are experiencing in America now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Since our last election, racism has become so overt, and it's like people have been given or handed or given permission to be outwardly disrespectful and racist.
Yeah.
And this sounds like the same what's happened in his school. And so my challenge to the people who are watching, or whoever will watch this, is how are we addressing racism as a people? How are we addressing it? Because yes, many people can say, you know what? Yes, people are more racist. They're expressing it more. I don't know if they're more racist, but they're expressing it more openly, right? So as a people, how are we going to address this so our children don't have to suffer in that institution where they should be safe?
That's true. That's very true.
It's and Susan says, I will read her comment. She says, is there a diversity inclusion officer at the school board, or have you addressed this teacher or set up meeting with the principal and his and this teacher, your attorney, or the local NAACP representative? And she also went on to say, I commend you all for your courage. I experienced this with my own daughter over 20 years ago. And she also said the president has given permission. The president of the United States have given permission for your child to be treated like that. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, we all know there's racism throughout America, not just in the southern states. But I think with the election of our president, which is very hard to say, but our president, and just even like the recent comments of, Africans and Haitians coming to this, coming to our country, from S-hole countries, why are we allowing them in? Just like those comments, it's just like, did we really elect him? Did we really open up Pandora's box of a thing that's this country has been founded on? That it's not so much that racism ever went away, but at least people had respect enough to not utter those things because they knew what would come behind that. But now people have no respect, no class about it. You see it all day on Facebook. Someone just at the grocery store, if I bump the person the wrong way, or if I even just Spanish people even that can't speak good English, you need to speak English. This is our country. Just those things, and people freely dropping the N-word, freely. You see it all the time, and it's just these people are encouraged and empowered to do these things because of who our president is, because he goes on national television and say these things, and it's been made to be okay. And, whereas, there's no impeachment. I know they say they're trying, but I need you guys to try a little harder, because a lot of kids are at stake here. A lot of kids are at stake. I mean, we're seeing people being lynched, and you don't see it on the news. You don't. Not too long ago, maybe like a couple of months ago, in Dallas, like the heart of Dallas, the city of Dallas, there was a man hanging from a tree. Yeah, lynched, but I only seen it through Facebook, but not on my local news.
Wow.
And I do blame Trump for those things.
That's something, because it's like, okay, so if permission has come from the highest office in America, and now the teachers are doing it, so then what that does, it gives permission for those other, let's see, 770 kids in the school to do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really sad. And that's, for me, that's a traumatic situation to be in.
Yes, it is. Mm-hmm. I definitely agree.
So when we think about, okay, this is the state that we're in, this is the experience that he's had, we want to make sure that this does not affect, this has the least amount of effect on him as possible. What are some of the things that, Errol, when you think about your son, what are some of the things that the family is doing, or what can we do to put things in place to really combat some of these experiences that Trey has had?
Well, I think overall we take the lessons You know, I mean, we learn lessons from our experiences, but more importantly, we just continue to communicate. Communication, is, I think it's important for you to ask your kids, hey, how's your day? I think it's important for you to say, do you want to talk about anything? I think it's important for you to be transparent at times with your children too, so that you can let them know that, hey, I'm human. And so I've experienced things, being relatable to your child, I think is as important, and constantly reminding your child that they're an amazing person and that they were here, they were put here for a purpose. Mm-hmm. I think it's important just to always uplift your child and let them know, regardless of whatever you may face, look how you can turn that into another win, and just keep, treating yourself better, loving yourself more, and doing better. Then also reaching out and paying it forward, and helping other individuals and speaking out when you see something's not right.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
I think that's really true. And even talking about it and reporting it in the first place, that took a lot of courage. So I commend you on that. And then even talking about it, Trey, that's advocacy. That's advocating for yourself and really setting it, paying it forward for the other students who might go through that same thing, or those same things in your school. So I really, again, commend you on your courage for doing that. That takes a lot of guts.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So where does the family go from here?
So right now, we are going to get trained with some therapists. Thanks for sending us the information and stuff. So we're going to reach out to them very soon here. And just to make sure that, he can talk to someone else outside of us. So he's always comfortable and able to communicate everything that he needs to communicate. Because, as parents, sometimes they don't want to tell you everything. And we keep, prepping him and preparing him, for life, period, but also to be an advocate and always speak up, never be a bystander. If you see something wrong, you see someone getting picked on, even, going through something you're going through, or just other kids just being nasty and mean, stand up and say something, because a lot of times that's why, like here in this community, they'll say, it's not happening. But then I'm getting inboxes of other stories where this is happening, but that's because a lot of kids are seeing it and they're turning away. Adults are seeing it, they're turning away. So we try to really teach him how to be a bystander, not be a bystander, and speak up at all times, respectfully speak up, and and represent yourself well, and make sure so that way other people do not have to go through these same things. Because the more people that speak up, the more these things will be uncovered, and it doesn't seem as though like it's just one person just making up something, and and it's not happening. We have to expose these things. So as parents, we teach them that, and of course we're prepping him for college, getting him ready for those things.
Right. Well, I'm so excited to hear that, and I commend you all on countering the messages that he's receiving from society and even from school, which is sad, because school is supposed to be a safe place of learning. And I commend you all on countering, helping him to counter those messages of who is he as a strong Black man, and to help him define a positive narrative about himself, because that is just outright and it's blatant and it's not acceptable. Geneva, you were saying something once. You were saying that you believe parents need to be more involved. Say a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think one question I asked when I was at the school and I was trying to observe my son's class that day, I just asked the principal, I said, well, how many parents do you have coming up here to observe, to pop in? He said, and I'm talking about throughout the year, he said maybe 4 parents. that's a problem to me, because I feel like sometimes you do need to pop up and just show up, because like I say, a lot of times kids don't tell you everything, and you have some kids that are much shyer, not very outspoken as other kids. My son is outspoken, you know, and we raised him that way, but I have a daughter that's not as outspoken. And so sometimes you need to get a little bit in their business and in their mix and go into their environment, even if it's school, just to sit back and see what's really going on. So that way you'll know what kind of environment they're in. Now, we do know when we show up, your kid is not going to be how they typically are, or the teacher is not going to be how they typically are. But just to get an environment and an idea of what kind of environment they're being taught in, because other kids, you know, they don't know you from a can of paint, so they may be who they are, but it may be a rowdy classroom where your kid cannot learn effectively, so they're making 70s because the teacher has no control over the classroom, you know, or your kid is, you know, being easily distracted because there's no control in the classroom. Or, you know, they might not be teaching your kid effectively. They may be teaching math completely wrong. You need to be involved in that. You need to make your presence known at the school, so that way they know that you care, because a lot of times they think Black parents do not care, especially Black parents. They think that we don't care because our face is not in the schools enough. And we need to change that. We need to change that. I'm an advocate. You will see my face. If my son does something wrong, I'm going to be there, and I will show up very upset with him, and I will check him. You know, I will get onto him and let him know this is not, you're not showing a good example of your greatness, and vice versa. If you're a teacher and you're not, you know, doing your part, I will report it. I will let it be known. So I think just as parents, we have to be more involved. Dads, you know, need to be more involved and let it be known that no, we're here for our kid wholeheartedly, and that we're here to work with you as staff. But also I'm here for my kid too. I'm going to advocate for them and make sure that they're getting the best quality education that I can afford to give them.
Absolutely. I think that's really critical. When I was in Minnesota, I started a group called Champion Parents, because of the same reason. I wanted parents to be empowered and have the advocacy skills to be able to navigate situations and not wait till something like this happens. But when something like this happens, they are already Johnny on the spot and already have some, you know, some plan in place of how to navigate it, which you could use support from, you know, parents rallying around your family too, to say, you know what, if you do it to one of us 30, you're doing it to all of us 30.
Exactly.
And so it's not so isolating for you as parents fighting together to protect your son, but you know, how do we make this a common practice so parents are a part of this community pulling together already and have things in place? Say, you know, if this happens, this is what we're going to do. We're here for you. We're supporting you. We definitely need more parent involvement in that way.
Yes.
And the sad thing about it is a lot of school systems, a lot of school districts talk about equity and how they want more parent involvement. But the reality, what I've experienced, is that they don't necessarily have the infrastructure to support that. If you're telling me you want me to be more involved as a parent, then you need to make it, don't send me through all those hoops for me to come into the classroom and visit. You know, don't create all these additional barriers when you're telling me you want me to be more involved. And then maybe you need to define what involvement look like, because I get my kid to school and he has his uniform on.
If I have to entrust you with my kid, I should be able to come into the school.
Exactly. How can your kid be somewhere where you're not allowed to be?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I think that needs to be looked at too, is, you know, what does parent involvement look like, and how do we support parents in what we're talking about? We want parent, you know, to be more involved, and we want to have an equitable environment for our families.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Well, we are, gonna wrap up, and I just want to commend you again for the courage to come forth, Trey, and talk about this. And let me ask you this. What would you say to kids who are experiencing the same things that you have experienced?
What I would say is don't let it be known that it's happening, and don't really let it like get under your skin, because people that judge you before they even know you, that's they lost on a good person. So
I love it. I love it. I love it. And I appreciate you again taking the time to talk with us, to spread this awareness, because we need to do something different. We need to stand up for our kids. And Geneva, I think you said this. We need to believe our children. We need to know them, and we need to believe them and advocate for them.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yes. So, Errol, closing remarks to our parents, or to somebody who might be watching this. What's one thing you want to leave them with?
Closing remarks is communicate with your child. Conversations that you may not feel is necessary, that means it's necessary. Certain things may need to be discussed, especially when it comes to, when your child is being put in a situation that he's not used to being in. I think it's important to always speak life into your child. What I mean is just don't be so quick to condemn them. Hear them out to understand them. So instead of, us being those traditional parents of do it because I said so, there's always the purpose behind it. And also when you communicate to them, even when they, go through their own dealings that they self-inflict upon themselves, because kids are not perfect, just remind them of the direction that they want to go in, based on their dreams that they're telling you that they want to, see come true.
I think that's excellent. That's excellent. Thank you so much for saying that. Geneva, you have the final word.
Just advocate for your kids, like he said, communicate with them, prep them sometimes. You need to prep them sometimes, even though it may be a hard discussion, especially, I hate to say it because it's weird in 2018 that we have to say it, but even if your kid is a child of color and they're going to a predominantly white school, you need to prep them. Even if you've never experienced that, but we all live in this country and we know what it's founded on. So you need to prep them and let them know, hey, you may hear people say this, I need you to respond this way. So that way they'll know how to respond, because when it happened to him, he was like, Ma, I'm ready to fight. And I'm like, no, calm down, report it, do these things. Because if you don't prep them, then they may think this is okay, and it's really not. So I will say preparation, communication, and be willing to advocate for your kids no matter what.
Excellent. And I should tell our viewing audience that you did move him from that school, and now he's back at his old school. And they did ask you to leave the school, didn't they?
Yeah, so basically, when I went to observe, he escorted me to the class with my son. And when I needed to check on his schedule, he then told me that I wasn't able to observe today because I didn't give them enough notice so the teachers can get the curriculum in order. And he said I broke one of the ground rules, which is I'm not allowed to speak to the teachers.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you got him out of there. I'm just saying, Trey, you used a phrase in your last interview. You said people need to be what? Woke, stay woke, or what'd you say?
I said stay woke.
Stay woke, because again, I think about those other 29 kids who are left in that school, and what an example you are for them, Trey. So You know, we're gonna add that hashtag stay woke.
Right.
That. Okay. Well, thank you all so much for giving up so much of your valuable time on this Sunday afternoon. And thank you all for being such an excellent role model of parents who are engaged and involved and supporting your children to excellence and with high expectation. And I just really admire that and thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you as well.
Thank you so much.
Yes. And I just want to say to our guests, thank you so much for joining. This is Ann Dillard with Teen Talk Live, where we are transforming the lives and minds of teens and those who love them. And we ask you, even if you're on this replay, to share this video, comment, and send some good wishes to the Armstrong family for their courage in enduring this. All right. Thank you, Trey. Thank you, Geneva. Thank you, Errol. And have a wonderful night. God bless you all.
You too. Thank you so
thanks.
much.